Good evening and welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA players, legends, and top instructors go to share their stories, insights, and playing lessons. Join Chris every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time as he talks with the greats of the game. Tonight's show is sponsored by the French Lick Resort, Ben Hogan Golf, the PGA Tour Superstore, 2 Under, the Salt Creek Golf Retreat, TaylorMade Golf, the Bobby Jones Apparel Company, and Super Speed Golf. Now, here's your host, Chris Mascaro.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming back and joining us this week on Next on the Tee. You know, it was a yawner, right? Then it was almost a shocker on Sunday at the PGA Championship. How many of you were like me on Sunday, and after Brooks Koepka birdie 10, I was like, I got stuff to do. I went out, I started doing things out in the yard, took my phone with me to kind of monitor what was going on with the rest of the tournament, not expecting much to happen. I assumed it was going to be sort of a stroll to victory for Koepka. But about 10 minutes later, I looked and he bogeyed 11. And I thought, no big deal. Then he bogeyed 12. And I said, And then he bogeyed 13 and 14. And I thought, no way, right? There's no way he's going to choke this thing away, is there? I go back inside, the lead down to 1 over DJ. And look, folks, we've seen this happen a few times through the course of major championship history, right? And then not too distant past, Greg Norman blows a 6-stroke lead at the 96 Masters. We saw Jordan Spieth blow a 5-stroke lead on the back 9 at the Masters in 2016. And who can forget John Van de Velde, right, at the 99 Open Championship, giving up a 5-stroke lead, 3 of which happened on the last hole. So no one has ever surrendered a 7-stroke lead, but boy, Brooks very nearly did. I'm sure glad he did now. I was so relieved for him when that putt went in on 18 and it was all said and done. Now, so he's now won 4 of the last 8 majors, and there's no reason to think now, right, that he can't three-peat at the U.S. Open next month at Pebble Beach. And to his credit, when the New York fans, right, started chanting DJ on the 15th hole, he was able to sort of snap out of it, right, collect himself, closed it out, and then large part thanks to, goodness knows, if DJ doesn't bogey the 16th and 17th hole, who knows what happens, right? If he pars those 2 holes, we might likely be headed to a playoff on Monday, or who knows what happens to Koepka over his last 3 holes. So we're never going to know what could have happened. I'm glad for what did happen, and that collapse was avoided, and he goes on to victory. So an eventful Sunday when we thought it wasn't going to be much, right? The tournament actually did break out on the back 9 at a major, which is, like I say, always what happens, right? So we can't turn our backs for a second, even with a 7-stroke lead in a major tournament. But again, happy for Brooks. Congratulations. Good for you. Thank God you snapped out of it, and now you've got 4 majors in your pocket. And like I say, no reason to think he can't make it another one coming up at the U.S. Open next month. All right, on to tonight, folks. And we have got a special show in store for you. And I say we because now joining me on the French Lick Resort guest line is my co-host on the football side on the Thursday night tailgate show, Mr. Bob Lazzari. Bob, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Chris, it's great to hear your voice, and it's always a pleasure joining you on the golf side. I've been well. How about yourself?
I'm fantastic, thank you. But it seems like it's been forever since we went on hiatus on Thursday night tailgate, even though it's been right around a month or so. But like I say, great having you over here on the golf side. It's going to be a little change for us to talk a little golf, but I'm always glad to have the opportunity to do so with you, my friend. And, before we get into, the rest of what's going to happen tonight and who we've got joining us, later on the show, I want to get your thoughts. You heard me talk a little bit about the PGA Championship right there a moment ago. What's your thoughts? What did you think about what you saw on Sunday?
Well, Chris, you almost knew that there had to be a tiny bit of drama, and I'm not thinking that it would go back down to a one-shot lead at any point. But it just goes to show you, first of all, those weather conditions, and I can talk for anybody that lives here on the East Coast. It was brutal, Chris. The winds started picking up. Those winds that they had at Bethpage hit here about 16, 17, and now a few days later, they were major winds, and of course that course is just exhausting. So, I mean, let's face it. I mean, Koepka did what he had to do in those first couple rounds. I mean, the first couple rounds count, right, Chris? I mean, he put those rounds in the bank, and he kind of put the tournament away. And I don't think, again, everybody that was saying that, and I did the same thing, didn't think it would get that close. But it goes to show you how tough that course is. And, hey, give Koepka credit, Chris, because just when everyone thought he was just going into a major tailspin, he hits one 350 yards straight to kind of put himself back on track at the end there. So, I mean, he's a tough guy not to like. He's come here to Hartford 2 out of the last 3 years. He's played very well, including last year when he was very tired from winning the week before, Chris. So he is a favorite here. It's tough. Again, he's a guy on top of the world, 29 years old. He did his time on the Challenge Tour, as you know, has the beautiful girlfriend, very wealthy now, seems to have it all. And like you said, I mean, it's just amazing to me and amazing to everyone else. 6 wins and 4 of them are majors, Chris. How about that for a percentage?
Indeed. And that leads me right to what my next question was going to be, and I put this out on social media. But let's say, Bob, he goes on now and he three-peats at the U.S. Open, right? 5 majors, 7 victories. Where does that put Brooks Koepka when you're thinking about the greatest of all time? We're so quick to name guys, the greatest this and the greatest that, and put people up in a high echelon. But a guy with 5 majors isn't anything to choke about, but only 7 victories to go along with it. Sort of a weird ratio to your point. Where do you think that does for Brooks if he were to go on and three-peat at the U.S. Open?
Oh, you know what it is, Chris, and all golfers will probably talk about it. It's all about majors. As you know, we don't want guys thinking that these other tournaments throughout the year mean nothing, but his 4 out of 8 majors here, just in this stretch, you're talking rarefied air with Tiger, Jack Nicklaus, Ben Hogan. These are the major names of all time, Chris. And if he gets a 5th before his 30th birthday, which is possible, yeah, you have to start thinking this guy's only 30. Can he get maybe 5 more? You know, this is a guy, and I've heard a lot of people talk this week that he could easily probably get 10. And you know, these guys that have anything above 5 or 6 majors are, it's rarefied air. And he's got that type of game, Chris. He can win on the tough courses like Bethpage and maybe a little more friendlier at places like Pebble Beach where the long hitters don't always win. So this guy's special. Again, he's hard not to like, and he's right from here in the United States.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm with you, Bob. I think this guy's got a lot of majors left in him. I think he's going to be one of those special players that we're talking about decades from now that we got to see right from the get-go, start to sprout and start adding major after major after major. So looking forward to Pebble Beach and seeing what he does there. All right, on to tonight's show. Our first guest tonight is going to be 2012 Senior Players Champion Joe Daley. And Bob, Joe had a very good college playing career as a walk-on at Old Dominion. Won 3 times in college and then didn't go pro until he was 32 years old. Had some success out on the web.com tour, getting a couple of wins out there, and then sort of really burst onto the scene on the Champions Tour in 2012 with a 4th place finish at the Senior PGA Championship, later winning the Senior Players Championship. So really looking forward to hearing his stories tonight, Bob.
Yes, Chris, doing a little research throughout the week. You know, he's my age, and he another guy that's done time on the Nationwide Tour and PGA Tour and has played in a couple majors. We can get his spin on Pebble Beach as he played there. But, yeah, very interesting guy, and to win a senior championship like he did basically in his backyard where he grew up, that's got to be special. We'll ask him about that, too. But it's an honor to be talking to Joe.
Yeah, really looking forward to having him join us. He'll be along in just a few minutes. Following him, we're going to get a return visit from Nathan Grube. Nathan is the tournament director at the Travelers Championship that's coming up the week after the U.S. Open next month. And Nathan joined us last year around this time. And the tournament is right up there in Cromwell, Connecticut, Bob, in your backyard. So they're going to have another strong field, even though it is the week following a major, which we'll revisit the reasons why Nathan and his team are able to get such a strong field every year up there. But Bob, it's an event that I know you look forward to every year because of the great job that Nathan and his team do. And like I say, it's just down the street from you.
I can't give them credit enough, Chris, for a tournament that I consider close to perfect every year. They actually improve on it every year, and I'll bring this up to Nathan. This year, Chris, and it was a big thing in this past weekend's Hartford Current, they have a new 40,000 square foot clubhouse that they actually tore the other one down after the tournament last year. This one is already up and working, and it's nothing less than a Taj Mahal what they did, and that's just to appease the players and their families. We'll go into it. I'm sure Nathan will explain more because what they did is incredible, and I'm sure there's things I don't even know about that he'll bring out that are new this year. But that tournament, and again, what they give to the state of Connecticut and its charities is phenomenal. And they just won an award at our annual Gold Key dinner a few weeks ago, and I'll explain more when we get him on, Chris.
Yeah, look forward to having Nathan. He'll be back with us at the bottom of the hour. So there you go, folks. We got a lot more great stories and information coming your way tonight on this edition of Next on the Tee. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in and taking the journey with us over the next hour or so. But before we get started, I always like to remind you about my good friend Mitch Lawrence and his podcast, Talking Golf Getaways. He and his co-host Darren Bunch let you know about great places to stay, play, and even eat and drink while you're there. You can stream their podcast over on Golf Trip X, and that's the letter X, so golftripx.com. It's also available on Audio Boom, Stitcher, and Player.fm. So go there, check out their show, and learn about some of the hidden gems that we have around the country. His twin brother Matthew also has a great golf show. It's called Backspin Golf, and that show airs Sunday mornings from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time on WLXG ESPN Radio AM 1300 up in Lexington, Kentucky. Their show also so much fun, and it's a great way to kick off your Sunday mornings. Again, it's called Backspin Golf, and you can stream it online at WLXG.com or doing what I did, which is download the WLXG app. And folks, as you know, we are sponsored by the French Lick Resort. Let's hear a word from Steve Rondinero about what you can expect out of them this summer.
It's a Pete Dye masterpiece, the Pete Dye course at French Lick Resort. Pete says its location on one of the highest points in Indiana makes it special.
The long views. You can see maybe 20, 30 miles from many of the fairways and many of the tees and greens, and you can see it 360 degrees.
Donald Ross's Hill Course put French Lick on the golf map more than 100 years ago. It's where Walter Hagen won the 1924 PGA Championship, and the place where today's Symetra Tour ladies battle each year.
It's the ambience around it that makes the golf course.
Combine our many resort amenities with legendary golf, and you have a getaway like no other. French Lick Resort is the home of the Senior LPGA Championship, won in 2018 by World Golf Hall of Famer Laura Davies. Play the courses champions play. Plan your trip now, online at FrenchLick.com.
Yeah, folks, go online to FrenchLick.com to see for yourself what a wonderful place they have up there and to book your stay as well. I also want to tell you about our good friends at the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company. Now, folks, if you haven't hit Ben Hogan irons since maybe the 80s or the 90s, do yourself a favor and get a demo iron for either their Fort Worth, PTX, or new PTX Pro or Edge irons, and go out on the range and compare it to whatever it is you have. All Ben Hogan irons and wedges are handcrafted one at a time in their Fort Worth, Texas factory, so no mass production, no shortcuts. Now you can order custom-made irons, wedges, and hybrids by going online to benhogangolf.com, and they're going to build those clubs to your specifications, and best of all, charge you a fraction of the typical retail price. Check out their complete line of forged irons, wedges, utility irons, hybrids, new driver and fairway wood as well, plus their bags and accessories, all available to you online at benhogangolf.com. And this segment of the show is sponsored by our friends over at 2 Under. I want to remind you about our friends over at 2 Under, men's performance briefs, the unofficial underwear of the PGA Tour. Worn by PGA Tour players like Ricky Fowler, David Toms, Jerry Kelly, William McGirt, Jason Kokrak, and Matt Everett, to name just a few. Your buddies are going to think you're a stud if they're even seeing you in your underwear, which is another story. And your girlfriend and her wife is going to love the side effects, a visibly enhanced profile. The Joey Pouch technology provides the ultimate male asset management. It separates a man's most valuable assets from bodily contact to reduce unwanted skin-on-skin contact. providing less chafing, more control, and an altogether more luxurious feel. Start every round 2 under by wearing the coolest performance briefs on the market. Use code ONTHET20 to save 20% off your order at 2under.com. And that's the number 2, UNDR.com. All right, now joining us here on the French Lick Resort guest line is 2012 Senior Players Champion, and that is Mr. Joe Daley. Let me give you a little more background on Joe. He's from Chestnut Hill, Pennsylvania, which is just outside of Philly. Played his college golf at Old Dominion University, and he helped Old Dominion to a second-place finish in the 1983 Sun Belt Championship. As a senior, he won 3 tournaments and was named All-Sun Belt Conference and was twice named the team MVP. Turned pro in 1992. In 96, he finished 6th at the BC Open out on what is now the Web.com Tour. In 97, he won the Nike Louisiana Open, and in 2005, he won the Wichita Open. Qualified for the Champions Tour back in 2011. Recorded his first top 5 in a major by finishing 4th at the 2012 Senior PGA Championship, and later that year won the Senior Players Championship in my hometown of Pittsburgh at Fox Chapel Golf Club. He won by 2 strokes over Tom Lehman and by 3 over our good friend Olin Brown. 2014, he finished tied for 3rd at the Shaw Charity Classic, and more recently finished tied 23rd at the 2017 Senior Open Championship. And we're very honored he is with us tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Joe, Chris, and Bob, thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Welcome, Joe.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me. Hello, Bob.
Nice to have you.
We appreciate you, Joe.
It's nice. It's very nice to be here. And I was listening to your program and what you said about Koepka and how much of a superb performance he put on there last week. Boy, that was really something. I'd never played Bethpage, but my friends from here in Pennsylvania that played said that was a brute of a golf course. I mean, really they didn't even hit from the back tees, and they couldn't even get to some of the par 4s into. So it just shows how it's just amazing how him and his buddy Dustin there, they worked out together training, and they hit it the length they hit it now, and it was just, it was amazing to watch.
Yeah, and to that end, Joe, as a guy who's played in a couple of majors, and you've been, and Bob mentioned this at the top of the show, how you played in the U.S. Open out at Pebble Beach. You played obviously and won on the Senior Tour in some majors. Talk about what is it like, dealing with the rough, dealing with the elements, dealing with major championship pressure, because we saw Brooks almost give it all away, and fortunately for him and his legacy, that didn't happen. But talk about what it's like dealing with those things.
Well, at Pebble Beach, when I played there in the Open, it was, there had been weather, it had rained, the course was playing, it really wasn't playing that fast from memory, but the difficulty about Pebble Beach is that over the years, the greens have settled with the slope toward the sea, so when I played there, my tendency was to underread the putts just simply because of there's just so much slope, and those greens are very small overall. And it's just one of the things, what first thing you got to do is just hit it in the fairway, and you don't want to just miss the fairway because that's the toughest rough that you're going to experience. So it's a test. Johnson's had some success there winning. And, the biggest thing is just to deal with each shot at a time. My first round there, I can remember weather came in, fog came in. I couldn't even see the 11th green from the fairway. And, 11. And there was a pause, and then we actually continued to play. And it was just one of those things that it's a very difficult golf course. I mean, I don't know how some of the guys I've played with out there have shot the numbers they've shot, because it's just force carries. You're right there by the sea. The ball won't carry like if you were playing inland the prior week. You go there and you're hitting a 7-iron and hitting it good, and you're not even coming close to the number that you were hitting it the prior week, just because of the air density. But it's one of the most beautiful places to play, but it's also one of the most difficult too. And
just to build off of what you just said a moment ago, Joe, going out there and the air density and dealing with fog and all of those sorts of things. But how much of an adjustment from what you're used to hitting and carrying a ball to what it is out there do you have to make? And does it change day after day based on what the weather conditions are? Or talk about how you're able to make that adjustment and figure out what club you need to hit.
Well, I always kept my numbers in my book for each shot during competition, how far I flew it, how much it rolled. So you can adjust to that actually pretty quickly. For example, I remember playing, there I never played it fast, but it's just the numbers of what they are, just simply because if the sun comes out and it gets warmer, well, then the ball's going to go further. And then if weather comes in and you get some rain, well, then, it's not. It's just one of those things that you would instinctively adjust to as you go to try to hit your number to get in position to make birdies. And that golf course, there's really, I think about number 14, the par 5 up the hill. That is one of the hardest greens to hit, even if you're in the fairway at 100 yards. Because you've got to fly at the right distance, judge your right speed, judge your spin rate going in there. And, it's, first you got to hit the fairway, then you got to lay up to a good number and then try to hit the green from there. It's really it's one of the greatest tests in golf. It really is. I don't know how they shoot the numbers out there that they do, but it's just one of those things that as a player, you just adjust to the conditions that you face, and then getting it above the hole and putting downhill out there is, you just roll it and hope, because they'll actually pick up speed because of the way that they set up the courses. And it's just one of those things that as a player, you just adjust to it and then move on to the next one.
And Joe, we just saw some very penal rough out at Bethpage. So when they got it into some of that rough and in the deeper stuff, all the best they could do was hack it out with a wedge and then, take your medicine and try to figure out a way to get up and down to make par. When you played out at Pebble, talk about what the rough was like, and do you expect to see sort of the same sort of thing, that if you stray off the fairway, it's going to be very difficult to make par?
Oh, no doubt. And, a lot of then you have to play to your strengths. Are you going to try to advance it up and get it closer to the green and take a 40, 50 yarder, or else are you going to lay back to your number at 100 yards and be able to just trust your game or your strength of your game to hit that shot? Yes, you want to try to scoot one up there and get it as close to the green as possible, but that can also lead to catching intermediate bunkers or even just in bunkers, or it's one of the best tests I've ever seen, and where the rough is thickest is where it's right off the fairway, because that's where the sprinklers, the irrigation will get to and actually, get the grass to grow more healthy and thicker. So it's one of those things I struggled with all through my career, especially played at those type of tournaments where you just miss the fairway, and it's like, geez, I wish I'd hit it over there in the trees. At least I could, punch it out and, or at least advance it and get it up to the green.
5 questions for Joe.
Yeah, Joe, I want to take you back to your early days in Pennsylvania and tell our listeners, Joe, when you first developed a strong interest in golf. Was it way before you played high school golf at Plymouth Whitemarsh?
Well, I grew up caddying. I first started caddying at the Philadelphia Cricket Club back when I was a kid. Rode my bike over there, made $7 single bag. And my dad and my grandfather both played golf, and I went out with them playing golf a couple times, and loved to just go out and hit balls, although I played other sports, baseball and hockey and skied and rugby, and it was just one of those things that it seemed like everything that we did back then was sports related. And with golf, I just would go to the IBB golf classic at White Marsh Valley Country Club. I ended up working there too. And it was one of the things where I saw all the greats of the day, Nicklaus and Palmer and just the whole, I remember seeing Weisskopf make the eagle on a par 4, just flew it right in the hole, and followed Nicklaus and just watched him birdie, I think 6 or 7 holes that I was watching him. I saw him miss a 4-footer on the first hole and then knock it on a par 5 and 2. And I mean, they made it look so easy. I used to love being there and just hanging out on the range, you know, when you would do the volunteer stuff of carrying the signed stanchions or help picking up, you know, cups and stuff that, you know, in the trash, because I was in the local Boy Scout troop that helped with that too. And it really inspired me as a kid. I was like, wow, I can do this. I like this golf stuff. And I would, you know, I'd watch them on the range and ride my bike home, go get my clubs or my grandfather's clubs, and then, you know, go out and hit balls and then go back the next day and do it. And it was really cool because it was in the community that I grew up in. And seeing it all was a big inspiration for me.
And I was going to mention the climate in Pennsylvania as a youngster. Did it bother you at times that you couldn't play perhaps all year round like other people your age living in more temperate climates?
Well, in talking to the guys at the club and you know, the pros that I knew and at the clubs where I worked, and I talked to them and they all told me, I said, look, you got to go south. You want to play. So going south for me was going south to Norfolk, Virginia at Old Dominion. And, at least, you know, you could play all winter for the most part. It snowed occasionally, but very rare. And then, you could play all year, although you just, you know, would dress for it. That's why once I moved, I never did, move back until recently. And then, just simply because you could play all year. And, yeah, it was just one of those things. And then when I got out of school, I went into the finance business and it took me about 10 years before I made the commitment to turn pro and then change my career. But no, it was all, I got the advice from the pros that I knew there of yeah, you want to play, you have to go south.
And Joe, just to expand on what you said a moment ago, I mean, you had a successful career at Old Dominion. You won 3 times while you were there. You led the team to a lot of success as well. Talk about, you know, why Old Dominion? I get you had to go south, but why Old Dominion?
Oh, it was just one of the things that it wasn't that far away, and I always, I don't know, there was part of me that was, you know, I liked Virginia, and then of course I went down there with my dad, and we looked at the school, and of course they got the big naval base there. He's a Navy guy, and a bunch of his friends were Navy guys, and I was like, well, I kind of like this area. It's down here, the ocean's not far away. I like to fish, and so it really was. It was pretty easy for me to do. I could just get in my car, go down the Eastern Shore, go across the Bay Bridge Tunnel, and then I was there. And it was, you know, and then I could always come back, you know, simply a 5-hour drive coming back. But it's just one of the things that it's just the way that it worked out. I got accepted, and I have a degree in corporate finance, and I used that for 10 years, and then I changed my career to being a touring professional.
So, Joe, one of the things that you're famous for, and I got to get you to tell the story, you had a 5-foot putt at Q School back in 2000 that was dead in the heart of the hole, and it popped out. What happened?
Well, oh no, the cup was down in it's sand-based soil there in Palm Springs, and actually it must have, I don't know, somebody must have been a little fired up about whatever was made on the hole, and they must not have, they probably tomahawked the pin in there so it adjusted the angle of the cup in the ground. And actually, from the Golf Channel, I went in there that day with the cameraman, and he could fit a pencil beside the hole and the side of the cup. So there was an angle of the cup that was protruding, and I happened to putt from that angle, and it hit the top of the metal cup and then recoiled back out of the hole. But it should never have been one shot. That it really should never. I was hitting it so good. I just was so nervous putting at that time, and I made a commitment after that to really improve becoming a better putter. I spent a lot of time and a lot of hours and study of becoming better. And I came up with specific drills and would go to different courses and actually would rate my ability to adjust to the speed, because through the years you go to qualifying courses, all of them are not, pristine rolling at 11 and in, superb shape. You have to be able to adjust, to the speed. And that's why I've had some success and a fair amount of success in qualifying, just simply because I know how to adjust. I do certain drills to adjust to the speed of the greens where the tournament is. It's simple. You start with a downhill 20 footer, roll it, uphill 20, downhill 30, up 30, downhill 45, up 45, downhill 60, up 60. Then you got a short putt drill, 3, 5, 7 feet, 3 balls. Make them all consecutively or start over, but not from the same position. There's a little arc there. You'll get better putting if you do those drills enough times.
So, Joe, got to ask you about your 2012 Senior Players Championship.
Mm-hmm.
You win that golf tournament by 2 strokes over Tom Lehman, three over our good friend Olin Brown. You shoot 4 rounds in the 60s at Fox Chapel. All great accomplishments. You're 7 years-ish removed from that. What still sticks out to you about what you were able to achieve that week?
Oh, just that it was one of those things. I trained a lot. I have a couple trainers, Sam Randolph and Jeff Jensen. Sam's from Fort Worth and Jeff's from somewhere there in Southern California. Exactly. I'm not sure where he's living right now. But anyway, they trained me. And I upped my training regimen to not just lifting weights, do a lot of kettlebell and a whole bunch of other different stuff. But so it would help it would help me physically being able to adjust to, the travel and the physical regimen. I mean, there's not many sports, that you can say that are like golf, but the guys that seem to be doing best in golf through the years as of late they're up on their physical fitness to a certain degree beyond other players, and that's how they get their edge. And I have to thank them for training me and then sticking with the regiment that they gave me, to do. And I was able to get my game very sharp to the point where, really, I mean, they weren't even the competition. It was just me playing the golf course, because I had that confidence that I did train, I did prepare, even though it was only my 4th event of the year. And I went to every Monday qualifier and played solid, but that just shows how difficult it was. I qualified for my first 2 events early in the season, and then I got in the PGA and I played well there. And then I just kept on training with these guys. It was easy in California. I just get my car and ride over there. They were in Palm Springs. And it just came to the degree where you have to up your training. You got to go past where you ever thought you needed to go and then go further, but then have someone standing there and say, come on, man, is that all you got? I mean, and then, press press the edge of the envelope. Whether it's putting or chipping or getting in the bunker and thinking I'm making this shot, even if it's the toughest one you ever looked at, just from the attitude standpoint. And I was able to think that way because I put in a lot of hours of training and a lot of hours of practice so I could get to that level. It's possible.
Joe, one more before.
Sure.
One more before we let you go, and I know you're doing a lot of work now with my friend PGA professional Jim Estes and the Salute Military Golf Association. Talk about the work you're doing with Jim and for the SMGA.
Oh, that has been a superb evolution. I'm just really sharing with them my knowledge of the game, and it's one of the really interesting things. They're all so very different, and it's neat to see, folks who know nothing of golf, like the one fella, Sean, brought his daughter the one day, and she knew nothing of golf, and I first showed her, tried to have a chip at first, and And then she got that okay, but then I said, well, come on, let's start at the first station to putt. Well, let me tell you what, she got putting down right away. She was pouring in these downhill 15-footers. It was unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Here's this kiddo who had never played golf before. I told him, I said, get her putter and get her 9-iron. And, but no, it's really neat, knowing these guys and really getting to know them better. And then sharing what I know with them to help them do better. Like the one fellow, he had a wedge. He's trying to hit it, Andrew, this big, stocky Marine, right? I said, where'd you get this club? He said, well, I ordered it. Now, I won't say the company name, but I compared it to my Cleveland wedge, and it was almost an inch shorter. I said, here, hit my wedge. And he says, oh, this thing's much heavier. Well, it's got a S400, 132 gram shaft in it. And here's a guy who outweighs me by 40 pounds. And anyway, it was one of the things he didn't have the right. He anyway called up the company. They're like, yeah, send it back. We'll fix it. So it was one of those things that, where you see a guy who doesn't have the right stuff in his hands. And, I mean, the graphite stuff might work for him in about 50, 60 years maybe, but he's like 28 years old. So, but, no, I've really had a lot of fun with, sharing the time with those guys down there. I mean, it's a great program. I mean, everybody enjoys it, and the time for me goes by very quickly when I'm with those folks.
Before we let you go, let our listeners know, how can they stay up to date with all the great things you're doing, whether it's following you online or it's on social media?
Well, I'm not a social media guy, but I do have a website. I still use a 12-column journal with a pencil when I do my accounting. So, old lessons die hard. I actually gone through a compliance audit, but, I do have a website. I'm still working on it, but it's, joedailygolf.com. And, if you want to get a hold of me, you can always message me there.
Joe, thank you so much for taking time out of your night to come and be a part of the show. We really appreciate it. So many other things we wanted to get into with you. We hope you'll come back and do it again sometime.
Thanks, Joe.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Bob.
Pleasure.
Take care, Joe. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Likewise. Thanks. Bye-bye.
That is Joe Daley, D-A-L-E-Y, joedailygolf.com, and a major champion over on the senior tour, Bob. And there's so many other things I wanted to get into with Joe, but you want to talk about a guy that was gritty and got through and made his way to the top of the Champions Tour after getting through Q School and getting through what is now the Web.com tour and playing out on the PGA Tour for a bit. But great story for a guy that rose all the way up to being a major champion.
Exactly, Chris. Anytime he could talk to a major champion on any tour, it's a pleasure. He's the salt of the earth from Pennsylvania for sure. It's a pleasure talking to Joe.
All right, before we get to our next guest, Nathan Grube, I want to remind you about a few of our sponsors. First, well, folks, TaylorMade has done it again. The all-new TaylorMade M5 and M6 drivers are out there, and boy, what a story. They both feature speed-injected twist face, created through a revolutionary manufacturing process where every single head, and I do mean every single head, is injected and calibrated to the threshold of the legal limit. Basically, every head is made tour spicy, so speed for all of us. Check them out online at TaylorMadeGolf.com. I also want to give a shout out to a couple of our new sponsors, starting with our friends at the Sandestin Resort. Surrounded by white sand beaches and the beauty of the Gulf of Mexico, Sandestin Golf and Beach Resort offers 3 championship golf courses open to the public and 1 semi-private course. With recognition from leading golf magazines and reviewers around the world, each course provides an exciting challenge in different scenic settings. Golfers can choose to play one or all courses, including Raven Golf Club, the Robert Trent Jones layout that played host to the PGA Tour champions back in 2006 and 2007. The Links Golf Club, designed by Tom Jackson, offers a winding layout against a backdrop of Baytown Marina in the Chakawatche Bay. Baytown Golf Club, also designed by Tom Jackson, offers a 5th set of U.S. Kids Junior Tees. And Burnt Pine Golf Club, which is a semi-private Reese Jones design available only to registered Sandestin guests. Visit them online at sandestin.com/teatime or give them a call at 844-887-SAND for more information and to book your tee times. I also want to welcome Golf Pride to the Next on the Tee family. In golf, light grip pressure releases power. Golf Pride engineered a secret the pros know. A larger lower hand encourages lighter pressure. Plus 4 technology is designed with 4 additional layers, which reduces tension in the lower hand to generate more power. Play Plus 4 and experience the secret pros know. Now available on Tour Velvet, the winningest grip on tour. Grip confidence, grip golf pride. And folks, this segment of the show is sponsored by our friends at the PGA Tour Superstore.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the PGA Tour Superstore. See why golfers everywhere are proud to call PGA Tour Superstore their golf pro shop. Visit them online at PGATourSuperstore.com. Now back to Chris and more of the show.
And now back with us here on the French Lick Resort guest line is Nathan Grube. And let me remind you a little bit about Nathan's background. He graduated from Auburn University with a degree in mass communications. Decided that teaching the game of golf was where he wanted to be, and he became a PGA teaching professional. He was an instructor at the Robert Trenchone's Golf Trail Academy from 1996 to 1999. He then became the tournament director at the Southern Farm Bureau Classic and the executive director of the First Tee of Greater Birmingham. In March of 2005, he became the tournament director for the Travelers Championship, which is coming up next month, June 18th to 24th, at TPC River Highlands up in Cromwell, Connecticut. Last year, Bubba Watson came from 6 strokes back to win the tournament for a third time. 2017, Jordan Spieth pitched in from the bunker in sudden death to defeat Daniel Berger. We all remember the chest bump he and Michael Growler did when that shot rolled in. It's one of the premier golf events out on the PGA Tour, and we're very excited to have Nathan back with us again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Nathan, Chris, and Bob, thanks for coming back on the show.
Hi, Nathan.
Guys, great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
So, Nathan, before we talk about this year's Travelers Championship, wanted to get your thoughts on last weekend's PGA Championship. You got to be excited because Brooks Koepka was one of the early commits to this year's tournament. You've had him over the last several years. Talk about what you saw at the PGA.
No, that was a great golf tournament. That was a huge golf course. I mean, for anybody who hasn't been there, I mean, it just feels like a state park, obviously, because it is. But it is, you kind of had a feeling that a big hitter was gonna win, and Brooks is definitely that. But yeah, no, it's been great to have Brooks when he won the U.S. Open last year, and he comes and plays us the week after, and then, as an early commitment for us, obviously we were rooting for him, but it was so interesting to watch him on Thursday, especially after that round. And he said, yeah, I could have shot 60 or whatever his goal was. I wanted to shoot 60 or I thought it was attainable. And then if you watch that round, it's like, he probably could have done it. But then, I mean, you just see how good these guys are, right? I mean, the pack keeps creeping up, and what Dustin did, and Jordan, there was just, there's a lot of guys making a good run, but Brooks he is focused on what he wants to do, and he's committed to his craft, and he has worked very, very hard at it, and, it's been fun to watch, and the crowds here love seeing him.
Bob, questions for Nathan?
Nathan, first of all, it's always a pleasure. I can't thank you enough for joining us each year, both on the radio and TV sides, and, I truly look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. And the most important question first, Nathan, can I count on seeing your awesome dad once again, chauffeuring the media members to the media center?
I tell you what's great about Dad. He comes out, and I made him go through the whole thing. I said, you're not getting special treatment, Pops. I said, listen, you sign up on the website, you try to get your shift, you do everything. And I remember the first year, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago, that he did this, and he looked at me and he went, you're serious, aren't you? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I said, you get no special treatment, here are the rules, here are the parameters, and he's an absolute joy. I mean, you've gotten to meet him and spend time with him, and he could probably be the mayor of any city that he lived in, just because he has never met a stranger. He loves talking to people, and it's really fun having him be a part of it. He did the first time in 2004 in Jackson with the Southern Farm Bureau Classic. He came out to help me out, and he had never done anything with me before. And he said, all right, what are we going to do? And I said, here's the deal, Dad. I'll wake you up at 3:30 tomorrow morning, and you're going to come and you're going to help me, and I got a job for you. And he said, okay. And I woke him up and he went, I thought you were kidding. And I said, no, let's go. And so he jumped in the car and we go, and I put him out in the cart barn and I gave him a clipboard and a flashlight. And I said, Dad, this is the hardest job checking out golf carts. Here's a clipboard. Here's your flashlight. You can do this. Good luck. And I drove away and he just looked at me like, you really just didn't do this to me. But it's really one of his fondest memories. He had so much fun, and he's such a good sport to do all that. He's a lot of fun.
I truly love the guy, and it was also a blast. And I mentioned this earlier in the show, Nathan. It was a blast seeing you at the 78th annual Gold Key dinner. That was a few weeks ago. That's our Connecticut Sports Writers Alliance. We hold that yearly, and for our listeners out there, the Travelers was presented with the prestigious President's Award, which Nathan accepted, and that was recognizing an organization that has made a truly significant impact on the Connecticut sports landscape. And Nathan, I know the Travelers, and they've really received many awards over the years in so many different ways, but where does this one rank? I know it's very prestigious to us sports writers here.
You know what was really neat about that award is you kind of look who's around, who's in the room, the different people who are being honored and recognized. And when you get pulled into that group as one of the ones being recognized, it's really humbling to see that. I mean, these people and these organizations and these teams and these coaches have done so much for the state, for the region, and it was really special to be included in that. And I think our whole team and Travelers, I think they understand kind of the weight of this event and what it means for our community and what it means for our volunteers. And we kind of feel a sense of responsibility, like, hey, this is our time where we're kind of stewards of this tournament, and we better take care of it, and we better make it better every year. And, you know, it's like we have a responsibility. So to be in that room with the writers who are telling stories, who, you know, remembered the history of the event, and just, you know, like right now, this is our time to make this event as good as it can possibly be, and to be recognized for that where we are was pretty special.
And Nathan, you know, I've always commended you and am amazed at how much an almost perfect tournament improves every year. And this year, players can look forward to the new 40,000 square foot clubhouse, which you and Travelers Executive VP Andy Bissett have been overseeing since the end of last year's tournament. There was a big article in this past weekend's Hartford Courant about it. And Chris, this amazing structure, as I told you before, has a new boardroom and ballroom and interactive video boards, and even a Grill 58 named in honor of Jim Furyk's low score there a few years ago. But Nathan, in an attempt to further please the players and their families, you guys have surely, it seems, scored a major knockout with this one.
Well, you know what's so interesting about the clubhouse? First of all, it's beautiful. I mean, we did a walkthrough again this morning and just kind of prepping for tournament week as we get closer and closer. But it's kind of, we say it's like the third leg of the stool. I mean, back in 06, 07, when Travelers came on, the practice facility just absolutely needed to be redone. I mean, the tour had outgrown it, the technology, the guys, just everything. And so the practice facility was the first huge project that we undertook. And then the golf course needed to be renovated a little bit. Some of the bunkers were a little bit tired, some of the drainage, things like that. So that was kind of the next project. And then the clubhouse is really kind of this last piece of, I mean, we've had to build temporary structures off of the clubhouse just to fit player dining, and I mean, we had so many tents going off of that thing, and it just looked like a Lego project that had kind of gone sideways just because we kept building off of the side of it. And I remember it was probably 3 years ago, Commissioner, at the time Deputy Commissioner Jim Monahan came up, and he and Andy Bissett were talking and kind of went on a tour of the clubhouse and talking about the future of the Travelers Championship and where we wanted it to go and things like that. And Jay looked and went, this is going to be an issue if you guys want to keep growing this tournament, because it was just the infrastructure. And so, you know, fast forward, here we are, and I mean, it was probably 7-8 days after the tournament last year where, I mean, Andy was the first one in the tractor taking down the clubhouse and backed it up and tore it down, and it just, what they did is phenomenal. And what we're going to be able to do with that clubhouse, not just for the players and the families, but they gave us a huge event hall in the bottom, and we're going to be able to do so many things tournament week, and they're going to be able to run so many more charity events out of there. it really just opened the door for us to, ultimately find new ways to raise more money for charity, as well as take care of the players and their families in a way that we've never been able to do before. So it's pretty exciting.
Nathan, I want to take you back and talk a little bit about the heritage of the event. And people that are around the age that Bob and I are, we remember this event as the Greater Hartford Open, or even as far back as the Sammy Davis Jr. Greater Hartford Open. But then you look at the rich history of this event that dates all the way back to 1952, and some of the all-time great players that have won there, the Bob Toskis and the Sam Snead, Arnold Palmer, Jackie Burke, Lee Trevino, Billy Casper. I could go on and on. Our good friend Olin Brown, also a winner there. Talk about the history of this event.
My gosh, you just rattle off so much. You go down the list of the champions, and not only champions, like how they've won, and what they've done with their, status of winning the tournament. There's so much. Even since I got here, I didn't even know. And actually, it's funny you say that, because when I interviewed for this job, one of the things that we looked at the time, my wife and I, we just had, one small baby, a couple months old, and we were kind of like, wow, where are we going to move to Connecticut? And we looked, because in our industry, it's like, okay, how strong are the tournaments? Are they going to be here for a couple years? Are they going to, come and go? When you have a family, you kind of look at these things. And the history of this tournament was so strong and so deep, and it was so evident that there was just this community that loved this tournament, that we felt really, really good about coming up here. And sure enough, we got here in 2005, and here it is 2019, and I have a high schooler, and I got another middle schooler, and we're New Englanders. And so it really just kind of embraces you, and it takes you in. And I think about the history since I've been here since 2005 of, Brad Faxon and Chart Vanderwalt in a playoff in 2005, and it's, J.J. Henry winning, Connecticut kid winning the event in 2006, and Hunter Mahan getting his first win in 2007, and Stuart Sink winning for the second time in 2008, and then Kenny Perry setting the course record in 2009. And, I could just go on and on for all the different things. I'm very fortunate to have history play out. Jim Furyk shooting his 58 here, and then Jordan Spieth hitting his shot that, literally the earth shook. I was standing there, and it was an earthquake. And then Bubba winning for three times, and then even Phil being a two-time champ, and him coming back this year is just going to be awesome. So, I could sit here and talk about story after story. Ken Duke, he wins, and he turns around and says, I made a promise, my first PGA Tour event, I'm going to cut a $50,000 check to the charities. And he pulled out his checkbook right there in the locker room and cut the check. And he said, I've been waiting my whole career to do this. And it's rich with history, and it's a privilege to be a part of it.
And Nathan, as you mentioned, Bubba Watson winning the event 3 times, including being the defending champion there this year. Have you talked to Bubba about what it is about TPC River Highlands that suits his game so well?
We have. Actually, we've talked a few times about it, and it's very interesting because not only has he won 3 times, but he probably could have won probably at least 5 times. He had I want to say a 3-shot lead that year that Ken Duke won, and he, Bubba on Sunday triple bogey 16 and loses by 1 out of the playoff. Like, he could have been a 4 or 5 time champ here. It's funny. He talks about how it sets up to his eye. He can hit driver a lot. And he's one of those guys where if he feels comfortable on a golf course, look out. Riviera, Augusta, TPC River Highlands. He's all won those courses multiple times. And he talks about his eye. He talks about he just feels good here. The crowd, embraces him as, kind of their champion. And he says he loves standing on the tee. He feels really good. And it's funny, the first time he won in 2010, I don't know, many people remember this. He was in a playoff. It was he and Corey Pavin in a playoff. Because sometimes people talk about, it's just a bomber's golf course, and you can rip your way around it. And it's like, wait a minute. At the time in 2010, you had the tour's shortest hitter and you had the tour's longest hitter in a playoff. You tell me when that has ever happened before. So it's not like this tournament this golf course really favors one type of player. Look at all the different styles that have won here over the years. And it's been great, but for whatever reason, Bubba he feels so comfortable here. Like I said, when he feels comfortable, look out.
And Nathan, you mentioned the ground shook when Jordan chipped that ball in from the bunker to win. But when I was looking back over the history of the event, and the lowest scoring round on average comes on Sunday, and I was curious, is that by design? Are you guys looking for those sort of Augusta National like roars on the back nine as someone makes a charge in order to win the golf tournament?
Oh, you act like we can stage this drama. Come on. I would say this, that the golf course is, I think one of the reasons why the players like it, well, one of the reasons they said they like it, is that it's a fair golf course, and it rewards you for good shots, and it punishes you for bad shots. And so if you want to be aggressive, you can take chances and you can throw up a number. If you get aggressive and you're just a little bit off, you're gonna pay for it. And so I think guys on Sunday feel like they have to go low, but it's not really. I mean, the pin positions are in very, very tough spots, and the greens are, usually by that part of the summer, kind of, they're getting very, very fast. And it's as an example. So Furyk, when he shot his 58, he shot 12 under that day. And I think Russell Knox won the tournament at 14 under for the week. So it's not like everybody drops a 61, 62, 63 on Sunday, but you get the guys that if you want to be aggressive and take that chance, there is a chance to score. I remember Faxon. I think Faxon shot 61 the Sunday he won. So it's out there. You're never really out of it. But it's not like everybody, the scoring average is 65 on Sunday. It's like if it's out there, you can go get it. But if you miss it, you're going to pay for it.
Bob, a couple more for Nathan before we let him go.
Sure, Nathan. First of all, any other changes to the course layout this year, and/or any new attractions to the fans that you'd like to make known to us?
Sure. To the actual golf course, no changes. They did those, I want to say that was 3 years ago, I think, with the bunker renovations, and they made a couple small tweaks, but nothing crazy. The guys love the golf course. But I will say, hospitality and fan wise, you're going to see a bunch of different changes. We flipped two of our hospitality structures on 18 to be able to get better views, be able to fit more people. We built a new structure out on the 17th fairway that quite possibly could be the best view on the golf course. I mean, I stood out there yesterday and looked around, and you can be in this structure and you can see the first hole, the second hole, 15, 16, 17, and you can just see so much golf. It's amazing. And that's a brand new facility this year. And, the fan zone, that's always a huge hit. I mean, obviously we have a mini golf course. We have a big rock wall. We have ice cream, face painting, kids can make jewelry. I mean, literally, and these are my kids too, not just other kids. My kids will spend the day down there and never watch a shot of golf, because it's the old practice facility. And so you have 20 plus acres down there where you create just this huge fun area. That's where we have the concerts at night and things like that. And I swear for years, my kids thought I worked at a carnival. They never thought I worked at a golf tournament. But we also have, three fan venues that are free, that are climate controlled venues that are located around the property where fans can go in with their general admission ticket, go in, sit in the air conditioning, and they're free out there just to enjoy. And so, I kind of have jokingly said that if you're going to see the Travelers Championship for the first time, even though if you've been 20 times, it's going to look brand new this year with the clubhouse and all the other stuff that we're doing on property.
And finally, Nathan, we've made it known how charitable the tournament has been over the years, raising more than $40 million for more than 750 charities, and about half of that money has been raised during the Travelers sponsorship reign. Talk about some of the charities that may once again benefit this year from the proceeds.
Sure, it's the easiest thing about the tournament to talk about. I actually just came from a charity event tonight where we had about 100 charities in the room, talking about the tournament, how they're going to be raising money, and we're going to, just be working with them to help them raise awareness for what they're doing. And, we do this stuff year round, but I mean, it's back to kind of what I was saying earlier, like we feel a sense of responsibility with the tournament, that we know that if we run a really, really good PGA Tour event, that our charities are going to benefit from that, and they're going to benefit more. and you're motivated by that to do really well and to do the best job that you can. I mean, we had a media day last week, and we had Bubba in town, and we had our primary charity, the Hole in the Wall Game Camp. It's this camp that Paul Newman started back in the 80s, and it's here in Connecticut. And we had some of the kids come and speak, and these are kids that are dealing with, I mean, some really, really tough issues. I mean, from cancer to battling sickle cell to a whole slew of diseases that are just really, really debilitating. They spend, a lot of their lives in the hospital, and they come out and they basically build a hospital and they disguise it as a camp, at a hole-in-the-wall camp. And you have these kids that are just really, really struggling, but they're actually just get to feel like kids. And they speak to you, and we had a young woman speak to us at Media Day to talk about her experience at camp. And I mean, Bubba's crying, I'm crying. I mean, it's every Media Day every year. Then we have a camper speak. I mean, I lose it. I mean, they're just so moving what they talk about, and to be able to be connected to that, and to be able to support those families, and to be able to see a direct connection between, hey, if we do our jobs well, these are the people that are going to benefit, and these are the families that are the end result of us running a good tour event. And so it's a privilege to be a part of it. I mean, to be able to say that, we have a kind of a direct connection between how we do our jobs and the lives that are touched. I mean, I never get tired of hearing the campers or the parents talk.
Nathan, one more before we let you go, and we touched on this a little bit last year, but for our listeners who weren't with us then, talk about all the things that you guys do. There's a reason why all of the top players from around the PGA Tour are willing to come play in your event the week after the U.S. Open. Talk about the job you do taking care of not only them, but the wives and the children and the coaches and the entourage that these players have, and how you get them there.
I would say this. It started with, and we've talked about this before, but I mean, it started back when Travelers came in, and they didn't have an idea of, they didn't come in and say, hey, here's what we want to be. We're going to be this. We really had a blank slate, and Andy Bissett and I started going out on tour talking to them guys saying, what do you want us to be? Like, what do you want this PGA Tour event to be? What's important to you? And it was, I mean, it put the guys back. Bubba talks about it. He goes, I wasn't ready for that question. He said, I was ready for, will you come play us? Blah, blah, blah. And, like the normal questions, we hope it works out in your schedule. He said, I wasn't ready for the, please tell us how we can make our event better for you. Like, what can we do? And we just started asking everybody, players, caddies, to your point, the wives, the girlfriends, I remember sitting with Andy Bissett and Mike Tirico and sitting in some food tent with NBC back in, 2006 saying, hey, how do we make it better for the crews, the television crews when they're out here covering it, and having them go, what? Why do you want to make this better for the TV crews? And we're like, we want to make it good for everybody. And so, just asking, 1,000 questions, you get 1,000 answers, and you say, okay, here is, people are answering us and they're responding. And so you start making the lives of the TV crews easier, and you start making the lives of the caddies easier, and you start, doing things for the daycare programs and the girlfriends and the wives, and to your point, the trainers and the coaches and this whole entourage. We feel like we have tried to make the tournament better for every single one of those constituents. And it has paid off. When you see the guys on tour now, they will say thank you, or they'll give you an idea, and then you can actually implement it. And I commend Andy from Travelers. He's the executive vice president and CAO of Travelers, and he makes time to come out with me on tour to listen and talk to the guys. And we have been able to build, I think, a culture of, an event that listens, an event that tries to take care of them, an event that understands they're on the road with their families, and how do we make this as easy on them as possible. But again, it's not just the players, it's everyone. And I don't know, I think it's just the culture that has been started here, and it has paid off. You get guys that, playing the week after the Open, we thought back in 06, 07, we were going, oh man, that's going to be a tough date. And, we just hit it head on, going, okay, well, what can we do about it? And I did an interview. It was quite funny. I joke about this, but I did an interview about 4 or 5 years ago with one of, our field was really good that year, and we've been fortunate to have really good fields. And the reporter asked me, he said, how did you guys get so lucky with the week after the U.S. Open to be able to get a field like this? And I almost just burst out laughing. Oh my God, how many times have I been answering this question for 9 years? Going, how are you going to make it work for the week after the Open? But it is, we're believers that if you put on a good event, that the players will come. And we kind of started, Andy and I started saying, look, the date's not going to make the tournament. The tournament will make the date. And we believed that, and we felt like we could make a really good event. And we've been very fortunate that our plan has resonated with the players, and it's produced some really good fields. And I'm really excited for the fans to be able to see. You look at the field this year. Brooks is coming back, and Justin Thomas, and Bryson, and Jason Day, and Phil, and Bubba, and the list goes on. I'm just thrilled for our fans. They're gonna have a great time out there. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Nathan, let our listeners know, how can they stay up to date with all the great things you guys are doing to get more information about the tournament, whether they go online or they do it over social media?
We have it all. We have a really good team on the social side, but everything kind of starts at TravelersChampionship.com, and Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's all right there at Travelers Champ, and for all of it. And it's just it's fun. We try to have fun with it. We try to put fun stories out there. And like I said, we have a really good team that, tries to engage with the fans. But you can catch all there, see where to volunteer, how to find if you're still looking for certain types of tickets. A lot of stuff is actually sold out on certain days, which is always, it's fun, but it's always, there's a little sense of urgency if you want to come see certain things. You can see all that on our website, but then all the other programs too, Women's Day and Military Appreciation and the stuff we got going on for kids. And there's a lot of the concerts. There's a lot of stuff on there, so we'd love people to check it out.
Nathan, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come back and be a part of the show. It's been great having you here again this year. We hope you'll continue to join us and let us know how things are going. You guys run a fantastic event, and like I say, there's a reason why all of those players continue to come back year after year. Is because of the great work that you and your team do. Congratulations to you guys.
Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate the support, and we'll see you very soon.
See you in a few weeks, Nathan.
Yeah, indeed. Take care, Nathan. All the best to you and your family.
Take care, guys. Thanks.
See ya, Nathan. That is Nathan Grube, and I tell you, Bob, you look at the star-studded field that they get there every single year, and the fact that the guys continue to go back says a lot about the quality of the tournament, how well they're taken care of, and like Nathan just pointed out a moment ago, really going out to those guys and wanting to know, what do you want us to make this tournament into? What do you want it to be like? What do you want it to feel like? And then not only getting that feedback, but doing something with it and executing on it. It's fantastic.
That's what I mentioned earlier, Chris. I come back there after the final Sunday every year saying, I don't know how they can improve on this. That was as good as it gets, and it's so smoothly run, and the media are part of those groups that he tells you that they try to accommodate and are very kind to, and that's just amazing every year what they do for us, and it's why a lot of us would consider that event the number one event every year in Connecticut, whether you're a major golf fan or just a casual fan. It's just an amazing event, and what they do for charity again is at the forefront, and that's something everyone can sink their teeth in, Chris. It's going to be a lot of fun. About another month from now, it'll all be shaken out, so look forward to it.
Yeah, no doubt, and for our listeners, let them know all the great things that they do for you guys in the media and that go out there in the free-flowing Ben & Jerry's ice cream, which I'm incredibly jealous about.
Well, Chris, yeah, we arrive at the media parking lot, which is a lot less chaotic, obviously, the general parking, and we are chauffeured into the media center by guys like Nathan's dad on golf carts, and they take a nice shortcut, and we go into an air-conditioned media center where there is free-flowing beverages, and then right adjacent to that is the dining hall, which all day long is gourmet food, and like you said, there's unlimited supply of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I mean, it's like whoever likes to eat, Chris, I mean, it's, if you like food and golf, you got to become a member of the media just for that. It's worth it. And, again, and they improve on the food every year. It's amazing what they come up with. And again, it's just an honor, that I'm invited back every year. I just got my credentials approved the other day. And, again, Nathan and his assistant Tara and, the tournament coordinator Ryan Stracuzzi, are just tremendous people, and from the time you arrive there on the first Thursday, Chris, they're there to take care of you. And there's always so many events like that out there, and no matter how long you've been in the business, you feel good about being taken care of by professionals like that.
There you go. All right, folks, it is time for us to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee. We want to send out our sincere thanks to Joe Daley and Nathan Grube. And my sincere thanks to you, Bob, for coming over and joining me tonight. It's like I say at the top, it's fun having you as part of the golf show as well.
We'll do it again. Hope maybe in a few weeks, Chris. I'll come back after the Travelers, and we'll talk about it from my perspective and how it shook out. And again, it's always an honor to work with you, no matter what sport we're covering.
Indeed, and I look forward to having you come back and letting us know what it was like and sharing your experiences over there. Enjoy it, my friend. We'll catch up again in a few weeks, and then not long after that, in July, we'll start back up with a new season of Thursday Night Tailgate, and we'll start talking football all over again. But I appreciate you and your time.
Sounds like a plan. Excellent. Can't wait.
All right. Take care, Bob.
All right, you too, Chris. Take care, man.
That is the great Bob Lazzari. And, folks, again, thank you for tuning in and being a part of the show tonight. We always appreciate the fact that you are making us a part of your golf content. Please check out our website, nextonthetee.net. Over there, you'll be able to keep up with our guest schedule and then see who are some of our future guests are going to be. Plus, you'll be able to link back to our page over on Podbean. Can't thank our partners over there enough for featuring us front and center in their golf section on their mobile app as well as online. So you'll be able to go over there and stream any of our archive episodes there. And like I say, download the Podbean app and you'll be able to take us everywhere you go. You can also stream us on a number of other great sites like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audio Boom, Player.fm. We appreciate all of them for their support of the show. Again, folks, thanks for choosing to listen to the show tonight. We appreciate you guys the very most. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friend.
You've been listening to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA pros and top instructors and media members go to tell their stories. Join us the same time every Tuesday to hear more stories about the game we love from people who love sharing those stories with you. It's all about the great game of golf. It's all about the great game of golf.